What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today, because you lot enjoyed the pure magnet profile that much, I thought I'd bring you the next step, which is a test hand combo guide to give you an idea of what this deck wants to try and achieve with a full hand. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm also going to give you hypothetical interactions with stuff like Mulchomi Fua losses, alongside cards in the regions of Infinite Impermanences, Nibiru's, maybe even Droplets as well. Just kind of give you a bit of an idea and an insight into what you want to try and do to play through them, around them, or what you might have to do to avoid them. So, with all of that out of the way, we're going to shuffle up, cut up, and start our test hand going first with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we've got a relatively okay hand here, but even better thanks to Quackimiru Guardian, which in my opinion is still the best normal summon for this entire deck. So, we're going to move into our main phase. Yes, if they have a Perulia, we're going to give them at least one draw, and then it's up to you on how many more you give them from that point on. Fua loss, we can actually kind of protect against, play against, but it depends on where you want to take it. So you're going to start off with your Quackimiru Guardian. Then what you're going to do is you're going to activate your Magnet Bonding. Now, it's quite important to try and protect Magnet Bonding where at all possible. So if your opponent was to go, for example, to utilize an Ash Blossom here, you might want to sacrifice your Quackimiru Guardian to make sure this goes through. Otherwise, you don't really have anything else. So resolving the Magnet Bonding, what we're going to want to do here is you get to use each of the bullet point effects once per turn. So if you have multiple bondings, you can use multiple of the effects. You just can't use the same effect more than once. We're going to want to go for our insanely powerful Magnum Plus Minus. Now the reason this card is so good is we're going to utilize this effect to send 2 level 4 or lower Magnum monsters from the deck to the grave. One of them is going to be Beta, the Electromagnetic Warrior. The other one is going to be Sigma Plus. In doing so, this card just summons. They can't ash this, they can't interact with it, it's just an inherent summon, it happens. And then in doing so, you're going to be able to use the effect of your Sigma Plus to try and revive the Beta. Now again, with this particular kind of field presence, if your opponent was to try and interact with like a ghost spell, you might want to stop it. But remember, there's been a couple of different points where they might try and interact with you. And it's not going to be the perfect field, depending on how many interactions your opponent may or may not have. Which is why I quite like Quackimiru Guardian, is it kind of either puts a check on your opponent where they feel that they need to prioritize the most effective interaction to go through, or it means that no matter what point when they try to interact with you, if they only have one monster effect, you can deal with it. The only time that Quackimiru Guardian will fail is if your opponent has an Infinite Impermanence, and then they would have to go Infinite Impermanence to negate the Quackimiru Guardian, and more times than not you expect there will be something else coming, so you might be a little bit more cautious. So resolving the plus will bring back the Beta. Beta's effect here to add us a Magnet Warrior. Now again, we're protected from Drow and Lockbird, we're kind of protected from Nibiru. It will be a combination or multiple interactions that will cause us issues here. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your Sigma Minus. Now, this is the card you're always going to want to add off of the back of the Beta, unless you already open it, and then you want to start looking at your Epsilon or even your Delta. Now, we have used our normal summon in this particular route of play, but don't worry, we're going to be able to grant ourselves an additional normal summon. So we're going to reveal the Sigma Minus to use it as fusion material with our Magnum Plus, and we're going to work our way into the Magnum here. We'll then use the effect of this on summon to be able to grab us a Magnet Bonding. You can go for the other Magnet spell card that I play, which is the Induction, but because we haven't used the fusion effect of the Bonding, it's actually quite a nice option to utilize. And then what you're going to do here is you're going to use the secondary effect of your Magnum. Now you've got two options here. You're going to get an additional normal summon. You have to send a level 8 from deck to graveyard. The ideal one would be to send the Tolusion. But because we haven't used the fusion effect of the Magnet Bonding, if you wanted to, you could try and work your way into the Valkyrion and the Berserkion. The only way you can do that is that off of the send of the back of the Epsilon, you'd actually send your Delta. So I'm going to show you how you make the big boss monster in this deck, but the more commonly and probably more ideal route would be to go through your Tolusion. Okay, so that's the one that I would say go for. I'm going to show you how you can do it differently as well. So we're actually going to send the Valkyrion, not the Valkyrion, sorry, the Berserkion, wherever it may be. The reason you send the Berserkion is because we're trying to work our way into Delta, which will get us the Valkyrion. So we send the Berserkion, we get the additional normal summon, we're going to normal summon down our Epsilon. Now it's actually really important here because you need to be able to banish 4 level 4 or lower Magnet Warriors from the graveyard. Let me just double check that it's directly from the graveyard as well. This might change our plans a little bit, but not the end of the world. Banish 3 level 4 alone monsters from the graveyard. It has to be graveyard. Okay, so we won't go down the Berserkion route, because the idea is that we would need to get... The beta would have to be in the graveyard by this point to do that. So you'd have to sacrifice your Kokimiro Guardian, which isn't worth it in my opinion. So I'll take back the Berserkion. We're just one card short on this. The other is we'll just send Telusion. I don't know why I'm overcomplicating it. Let's keep this very, very simple. Where's Telusion? Send the Telusion. So this is now your graveyard. You get the additional normal summon of your Epsilon. The Epsilon's effect will trigger. This will allow you to send another Magnet Warrior from the deck to the grave. Now again, you can send the Delta, but you won't have enough in the graveyard to banish. So the one you're probably going to be better off sending is going to be your brand new Omega Plus, which is quite a nice disruption, because if I wanted to add a rank 4 here, I could tribute off the beta, the Electromagnetic Warrior, and do that. But the Epsilon is going to be doing that for us anyway, because it's going to allow us to revive either Sigma Plus or Sigma Minus. It doesn't matter which one you bring back, just as long as you get it back into the graveyard for your Telusion later on, you'll be in a good position. So we're going to overlay both of these. We're going to go into Gallant Granite. We use Granite's effect to banish this, send in the Sigma Plus. This will then allow us to add a rock monster. So again, this is how you can get access to... I suppose we could have done it this way then, really. Like if we sent the Berserkion instead of the Telusion, and then we'd use Gallant Granite to add a rock monster, which will be the Valkyrion, we'll get the exact same outcome. The only difference is you don't get Naturia Beast. So it's up to you whether you want Naturia Beast, which personally I think is going to be a lot better, or if you want the Imperium Magnum. So this must be fusion summoned with the above fusion materials, can't be special summoned by other ways. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell, trap card, or monster effect, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. If this face-up card in its own control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you get to special summon a Valkyrion and a Berserkion from the hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So they'll be back in the deck as well, which is absolutely fine, but it is once per turn. So honestly, I would prioritise the Naturia Beast. I just think it's a better way of going. So in order to get the Naturia Beast, you would add, wherever it may be, your Adamancipator Researcher. Now, again, what you'd want to do here is you'd probably want to make sure that the Gallant Granite is in the extra monster zone, because you'll need the 2 spaces. And what I mean by that is, we'll special summon down Researcher. It doesn't matter whether Researcher hits or not. If it hits, you'll be able to add another card to this end field. If it doesn't, you still just make Naturia Beast. You're absolutely fine. So we use Researcher for the top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we do hit. We'll just get another Kokimiro Guardian, which is pretty mental. They go back to the bottom of the deck. And then what you do here is you'll put these 2 together. You go in the Naturia Beast. Now, usually more times than not, whatever card you summon off of the back of your Researcher is just then used as fodder. You can leave the Kokimiro on the field, which I think is absolutely fine, because then you'd get another monster negate, but that's up to you. We'll actually go into IP Masquerena. You could go into Cross Sheep. The reason for doing something like Cross Sheep is you will summon to a zone it points to, which means all of your monsters will gain 700 attack, which means it makes Nat Beast awkward to deal with, because it'll be 29 base, and then your Kokimiro Guardian will be a 26 base. So it just makes these harder to beat over if you want to, but obviously IP is going to be the most interactive for your opponent's turn. And then what you're going to do here is you're going to banish your Sigma Plus and your Sigma Minus, and you're going to summon back the Telusion. There we go. So they go there, that goes there. You'll set the Magnet Bond in. End phase, you'll reveal the rock. If you don't have the rock in the hand, the self-destruction of the Kokimiro Guardian is fine, because we're literally only having it on the field to protect us from interactions during our turn, and to protect us from Nibiru. And once we get to the end phase and it self-destructs, Nibiru can't be used anyway. So we've got the added benefit of revealing the beta, and the benefit of something like this is as we pass our opponent's turn, your opponent is never going to be able to activate a spell card. Like unless they have a infinite impermanence, Nat Beast is always going to be able to try and interact within reason to it. And even if Nat Beast does get impermed, you just go, cool, I've got Magnet Bonding, which will cause issues from our opponent anyway. Remember, all of your opponent's monsters are currently Earths. So I'll play you through the different types of interactions we currently have on this field. So during our opponent's turn, your opponent activates a monster effect, we'll use Kokimiro Guardian. Okay, that's one interaction we've used. Nat Beast will just be here. Like, it's just going to constantly be here to do stuff, so don't really pay too much attention to this. Then what you want to do is you want to use Telusion. Telusion can either take control of one of your opponent's monsters or can just outright destroy it. It doesn't make much of a difference either way. Let's say we take it, and we're just going to represent it with this dice over here. And then what you can do is you use IP Masquerena, plus the monster you've just taken from your opponent, unless you don't want it to be in their graveyard, and then you do it a little bit differently. You can go into either SP Little Knight, or of course you can go into your Gorgon, unless you took a non-effect monster from your opponent, and then you can't go into Gorgon or SP Little Knight, but then you'd use something else, but common sense. We can then use Delusion's effect to tribute off to bring back your minus and your plus. The benefit of this one is with plus, we can direct our opponent's attack target, so you can always put it to the 2800 defender if you want to. And then because everything on the field is earth because of your Magnum, you can negate the attacks when 2 earth monsters declare an attack. So you're constantly protecting your field. If you need to add more to your field, you can activate the Magnet Bonding, put back a level 5 or higher rock, and then put back any other rock, which can either be Delusion or your Magnus plus Kokimiru Guardian, because I don't mind drawing a Kokimiru Guardian. This would go to stay here. You can come into the TCG exclusive, being the Flux. Now, at this point here, if you've used SP Little Knight, I would use SP Little Knight, banish it first, then summon out the Flux, and then the Flux can let you revive a rock monster from the earth monster from the graveyard. So you can bring back your Beta. Your Beta can then follow up, giving you another search. So let's say Beta grabs us Delta, because we want to cheese out Valkyrion during our opponent's turn, which would be pretty funny. You've then got the ability to use the effect to target any of your monsters and one of your opponents and return them to the field. So it's an earth monster you control, and then any card your opponent controls return them to the hand. So I can add back the Beta to go again, but I've already got Beta, so I can add back the Sigma so that I've got the Fuse to play with. Return one of our opponent's monsters. So that's all of that so far. We've still got Ash Blossom to use on our opponent, which is pretty funny. And then, I'm just trying to think, I can't remember if the Omega Plus... no, so the Omega Plus I could use during my turn, but it doesn't really need to. So either way, I can choose the attack targets for my opponent's monsters, so I can get them to always run into a 26 here if I needed to. Materia Beast, no spells are being activated unless they have a way to out Materia Beast, which if they do, there's still more that you can do. You've used IP into SP, you've used Bonding into Flux for a bounce, you've used Delusion for either a Snatch Steal or a Destruction. Like, it's just very, very versatile. And then as it comes back to our turn, we've still got another Fusion. We've got Delta, which will cheese us out Valkyrion. We can make another rank 4 with Delta and Sigma Plus. It just goes on and on and on, which is pretty nuts. And we were very protective because of Kokimiru Guardian. So now what I'll do is I'll do another test stand going first. Just kind of give you a bit of an insight in how we choose to continue. So as we put these back together, we'll shuffle up, we'll go again. This time I'll be a little bit more negative, so unless we get Kokimiru Guardian. But if I get Kokimiru Guardian, I'll use it as the first possible option. Like, we'll actually have interactions from our opponent, which I think will be a good and fair reflection on what they've got. Remember, your opponent has just as much chance of opening up an interaction that is a free of in comparison to you opening up an interaction or a starter at free of as well. So shuffle up, cut up, and our starting hand of 5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, Guardian, let's go. Standby, main, normal summon Kokimiru Guardian, right? So this will check one thing from our opponent. We'll then use the Duo Trion. I'll be very, very interested if our opponent interacts with the Duo Trion. I think the worst thing that could happen after resolving the Duo Trion is, I mean, the worst thing that could have happened is draw phase, they go Perulia. And I'm right, okay, cool. Normal summon down Kokimiru Guardian, you're going to get 1 draw. I could probably try and hold off on the Researcher to give them a second draw, but, you know. So we'll go for the Bonding. I still feel activating the Bonding here to add. So if they draw us, I feel adding is going to be more important. And if they forward us and then drawed us, it's like, well, you're kind of trying to hinder yourself. You would still need to do it because I could special summon down Researcher and then I'm relying a little bit more on luck than anything else. And if they draw us, you just chain Bonding anyway. So you still don't need to use your Kokimiru Guardian. If they try and Ash the Bonding, different story. I might actually consider using the Kokimiru Guardian. So that's just something to consider, really. Anyway, where are we at? So we add this one. Then you just get to summon this guy down. Like, this card is mad crazy. Send in Beta and send in... Like, this doesn't really change in my opinion. Send in these two. Sigma Plus, revive the beta. This is another interaction of Bell. If they've got Bell, again, do we say, okay, let's say, I'll tell you what, let's say we let Droll resolve and we chained Bond into it, okay? Let's play under Droll. So we'll put the beta back in the deck, because if we're under Droll, I would probably send... I've already got Epsilon in the hand. I would probably send Delta, okay? And then we'll use Sigma to revive the Delta. So we've still got this in play. Delta's effect would then send a level 4 or lower from the deck to the grave. I would then send Omega Plus. The benefit of doing it this way, is I've just got a bit more of an aggressive field, and if I need to sacrifice, I would try my best to keep the Guardian in play. That's how I would personally do it. I suppose the only benefit actually of bringing back the beta is that because I've got the Researcher, I add Nat Beast to the field. So maybe that is something to consider as well. Maybe that's how I probably should have done it. Yeah, okay. Let's not overcomplicate things. Let's go beta, bring back beta. Sadly, no search because we're under Droll, and it's not worth me negating the Droll right now. Shuffle up, cut up because we're about to do Researcher. Special summon down Researcher. Research effect for the top 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, we get the Delta anyway. Delta is very lucky. Like, if you summon the Delta, you get the Send, which is still kind of what we were trying to get for. Sigma Minus isn't a bad summon. The issue with the Sigma Minus is that you have to reveal it in the hand to fusion summon. So I'm basically under Droll. You kind of get a little bit locked out of your fusions unless you have multiple magnet bondings. Trying to think how big of an issue that is, really. Let's go for the Delta. Delta will send from deck to grave the Omega Plus. So we're under Droll. The next worst thing is our opponent tries to Nibiru us, and then you would 100% use the Clocky Mirror Guardian. Like, there's no doubt in my mind you use the Clocky Mirror Guardian. So let's put these two together, which I will do in a minute. So we'll put these two together. We'll go for the Nat Beast. Like, Nat Beast is still like a no-brainer in my opinion. You have to go for it. I've got the level 4 or lower Magnet Warriors in the graveyard if I want to. It's just a shame. Okay. Let's say, I'm trying to think of the best way of doing this. Let's say our opponent tries to Nibiru us. We'll do this, and then we'll summon Naturia Beast here. Still not perfect, but it means we've played through Droll. If we're under Perulia, we've given them another draw as well because we summoned down Researcher. I don't really want to... I could IP. Wouldn't really do a huge amount for us here. I mean, in fairness, we're under Droll, Nibiru, and Perulia. If I was under Perulia, I probably wouldn't lean into Adamantipator Researcher that much. I've only got 2 magnets in the graveyard, so I need to get another magnet to the graveyard in order to benefit off of this getting me Valkyrion. And it can't use itself. It's kind of like a summon, like we're just missing 1 summon. I feel like the most beneficial thing here would be for me to target one other Earth monster on the field. This card gains half that monster's attack until the end of this turn. If you destroy and send to the graveyard, add it back to the hand. I could use... Does Omega destroy? Yeah, I mean, Omega destroy. So technically, I could destroy this, add this back to my hand. Still need to get like another monster to the grave. Like the Berserkion's a bit of an annoyance in the hand, but it's not the end of the world. I can't go Gallant Granite because I can't really search anything. I could go Baguska, but that doesn't do anything. That just kind of mitigates Nat Beast. I could go Duguerres to revive from the graveyard, but The only thing that I would be worthwhile going Daguerre's and reviving from the graveyard is to get the Kokumiru back into rotation. But it does put it in defense position, and I do skip my next main phase, so that doesn't like help me OTK or anything. I feel like, sadly, this is probably like the best thing I could do, like the best end field under a Perulia, a Nibiru, and a Droll. I suppose the Droll would stop the Perulia, so they only got one draw for Perulia. And then what I have here, so they would have... So they start with a hand with a 5. They use Perulia, they go to 4. They draw off of Perulia to 5. They then Droll themselves and us, they put down to 4. They then Nibiru us, they put down to 3. Because the Kokumiru Garden will negate. So they got this, and then they draw for turn. So they got 4 cards to play with, okay? If one of them's a monster, you tribute this off, it gets banished, you book a moon that monster. That puts them down to 3 cards. And then I guess you're hoping that those 3 cards are all going to be spells, and you just go Naturia Beast, Naturia Beast, Naturia Beast. And they're left with nothing. So you'd have to rely on Naturia Beast carrying you through this, which is a big shame. Can this like tribute anything? No, it has to be tributing this card. So yeah, I mean, that was like an extensive hyper. Like if any of the other cards in their hand are like an Ash Blossom or something that they just chose not to use or couldn't use because of Koku would have checked it, that probably causes them a couple of different issues. All right, so now we'll start going second and start being a bit more aggressive. So after another shuffle up, another cut up, our starting hand of 6 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not bad. 6. Okay, so I feel it's safe to say that during the draw phase, you kind of want to activate Infinite Impermanence, right? You just trade a 1 for 1. Then, depending on what else they have, I'm probably going to have to save Super Polymerization for when they have something. And what I mean by that is, I mean, I can use the Sigma Minus. It's actually fine, to be fair. So what we'll do, let me just move these this way. There we go. So I'll use the Sigma Minus. It needs to use itself, and we'll use the Valkyrion, 2 rock monsters, Earths. We'll get ourselves into... I could go into Flux if I wanted to. That would give a bit of disruption. We'll go straight into the Conduction Warrior. This makes all of your opponent's monsters Earth. So even if they interact with this guy, they're all going to be Earth. So I can use the Super Polymerization, especially if they've got a level 5 on the field, and I can still work my way into... I mean, technically I could Super Poly into another one of these. Not that it does anything. But I could also just get into the Flux, and the Flux would still be quite... because I can use this as the rock monster, and then my opponent becomes Earth. So on the summon, we'll grab a bonding card. So we're going to want to grab another Magnet Bonding. I could use the effect if I want to for the additional normal summon of the Sigma, but I don't need that right now. We'll use the Magnet Bonding. We'll add the Conductor, which will be... There we go. Tell you what, we can actually go one step further. Maybe I do want the normal summon early. I'm going to use the additional normal summon early. Because of the Valkyrion, I can actually make this... We'll send the Berserkion. The additional normal summon will be the Sigma. And then what I can do here is I can activate the Magnet Bonding, put the Berserkion and the Valkyrion back into the deck. This will then give me Imperium. There we go. So we've done that. We can then use this, send in 2. Now, this one's absolutely fine because what we do is we'll send a Beta and we'll send a Mega. In doing so, Omega can then destroy the Sigma Plus, summoning itself back, put it in defense. And then doing so, Sigma's effect will trigger to bring back the Beta. Beta's effect will trigger to add us 1. Now, we've already used our additional summon off of the Magnum, but we haven't used our actual normal summon. So I can grab whatever I need to, which in this case Epsilon might be the best one. Have I got enough magnets? I mean, technically, if I wanted to, I could go, let's spawn out a Valkyrion. That would be pretty funny, actually. Let's go for Delta instead of the Epsilon. Now, if I want to kind of like book them in one of my opponent's monsters, I could use the Omega Plus, but I don't think I really need to. We'll use Beta plus the Omega Plus. The Omega Plus will get banished. We'll go into, we're just going to get greedy a little bit here. So we'll go into Cross Sheep. Then we'll normal summon Delta. I've got to trigger the Cross Sheep's effect. The Super Poly's now offline. I can't like do anything with it. Maybe the Delta doesn't help me out as much as I would want it to. Delta will send... I mean, it doesn't really matter what Delta sends, to be honest. Send the Epsilon. Just getting the Delta to the graveyard. Maybe I don't go Cross Sheet first. Maybe... Yeah, okay, so it shouldn't have been Cross Sheet first. It should be a Link 2 that I don't mind getting rid of, basically. Let's go IP instead, right? Just to clear some spaces off, get the Delta, use Delta and IP, they go into Cross Sheet. This is just like, you'd probably go into SP, but because I actually want to attack, I'm not going to go into SP. The benefit of doing this one is that I can then trigger the Delta. The Delta will then banish 3 magnets from the graveyard, so Epsilon, Beta, and Sigma Plus. Get rid of all 3 of those. That will then summon out the Valkyrion, ignoring its summoning conditions. We can then trigger off the Cross Sheep. The Cross Sheep will then bring one back. What was the strongest, actually? The strongest is Sigma Plus, so I suppose I banished the Sigma Minus instead. At least I can choose my attack targets for my opponent. And then I've got this field. And this field's pretty nuts, because I can use the Magnum Plus. I think I can target any monster. Target one other Earth monster on the field. This card gains attack gains half the attack of that monster's attack until the end of this turn. So I could technically target this and gain 2,000. So this goes to 4,700, 3,500, 4,000 there, 1,800 there, 2,300 there. If my opponent has obviously a monster on the field, it will be Earth, so I can use the effect to actually to take the attack from that as well. But that's probably the strongest option. I've got the Omni Negate here. Super Polymerization doesn't do anything for me because I've got no discard because I went a bit greedy. But the idea is that this should be enough for game. If I needed to use Super Polymerization, the field would probably be a little less. But then I would have got one of my opponent's monsters. Like I would have cleared off 2 more of my opponent's monsters, and the chances of attacking directly would have been a lot higher. So now for our final test hand, we'll again, quite like I did with the second test hand going first, I'll be a little bit more negative in regards to like how they can interact with us and try and trade off a little bit more. But that's always going to be the case when I'm going doing go second test hands anyway, because the chances are if I'm going second, my opponent's going to have a lot more interactions kind of set up, so to speak. So after another decent shuffle and another decent cut, our starting hand going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so no hand interactions on our opponent right now, but we have Guardian and Poly, and then Ash Blossom. Always a 6th card. That and Fua, always a 6th card. Okay, do I care about protecting Duo-Trion? This is what I like about Corky Mirror. We'll just go main phase. We'll just normal summon down Guardian. If I feel the field is of any threat to me, I would have Super Poly during the draw phase, and that's where Ash Blossom just become free discard fodder. I mean, I suppose we say that the field is quite threatening, so we will just Super Poly into Mud Dragon or Garura. So we have either of those on the field. Still normal summon down the Guardian. Still use the Duo-Trion to get us the bond in. It's annoying that this card's in our hand, but it's not the end of the world. Do I want to use my main normal summon? I mean, I could do. Let's use the main normal summon of Sigma. The only benefit of using that is that I can use Induction. So as long as I control a Magnet Warrior whose original level is 4 or lower, I get special on a level 4 or lower Magnet Warrior from the deck with a different name than that card. The rest of the turn after it resolves, Magnet Warriors and Magna Warriors I control cannot be destroyed by battle or opponent's card effects. So quite useful there. So we use this. I suppose we go a different way and just get the Beta directly from the deck. Beta's effect, grab us the Sigma Minus. Sigma Plus brings back the beta. It just depends on if I want to use the Sigma Minus. I suppose I could actually. I just use Sigma Minus, put these two together, get us this guy. This guy turns all our opponent's cards to Earth, such that it's a bonding card. So we're just going to grab ourselves the Magnet Bonding. Like, this card's crazy. I don't have another card to normal summon, so I can't send. I could put 2 back, but there's no level 5 or higher. Trying to think what is worth sending here. I mean, to be honest, I would probably put this here actually, and I'd link these two off. Mud Dragon's nice if I get the target, like if I want the target protection, that is absolutely fine. If it's Garura, I'm definitely linking off the Garura with the Magnet Monster to get me into Cross Sheep. Because then what will happen is we'll go Chain Link 1 Magnet Warrior, Chain Link 2 Garura. So at least I block the chain block the bell. We draw a card off a Garura in perm, okay, discard fodder I guess. And then we use the Sigma Plus to bring one back from the graveyard. So let's bring back Minus. In doing so, Cross Sheep will trigger to bring back Plus. Can overlay both of these. Go into Granite. Granite's effect. Grab us. Still got Bonding to Fuse. Like, if I could get the 2 8s to the grave, I could go again, but I could add Telusion, but Telusion's not really worth unless I can discard it. So we'll get the Researcher. No, I can actually get both. I can get both. So I'll add the Berserkion. And the way that I can get both, if there's enough magnets in the graveyard, did I do the maths? It'd be 1, 2... No, I'm a magnet short, which is fine. I've already used Cross Sheep, so we'll use Gallant Granite, we'll use Cross Sheep. We'll put those two together. Can't go into IP, so we're either going to go into Gorgon or SP. If you go into SP, unless your opponent has a full field, I highly advise not using the effect. So we'll just go into the SP, and then what we'll do here is we'll use our Linear Magnus Plus, send in 2. I want to send Delta, and we'll send... Oh, actually, I would have had enough. We'll send the Omega Plus. And then we use Delta's effect, banishing 3 of the following. So let's banish probably these 3 here, which gets us into Valkyrion. I still got these if I want to. Oh, well, at least the Omega Plus if I want to. And then I'll just go Bonding, put these 2 back. Get the Omni. That goes Graveyard. Battle Phase. 4K. 2, 3, 16, 27, 19. And then because I'm going to lose the Quackimiru Guardian, we just destroy the Quackimiru Guardian, bring this back. This is if I haven't completed an OTK, I set one past my opponent's turn. And then what I have is I've got the Omni Negate here. I mean, I could have destroyed this and add this back to hand, but it's fine. I've got the Omni Negate here, I've got the Book of Moon here, and then I've got SP Little Knight Banish plus an Imperm. So that's 4 interactions on an already broken field. I'll be amazed if my opponent can do a lot with that, because if they're top decking, the single card that they top deck gets answered with the Magnum. If they've got 2 cards, that might be a little bit different, but the first normal summon, if it's effective for a link summoning strategy, will get Book of Mooned. If it's, for example, let's say they go Cupsy, right? They go Cupsy, I use the effect to search. I'll go Imperm, negate Cupsy. On res, we'll use this to Book of Moon it. Or if they go normal summon Cupsy, I can just go Magnum, negate, destroy. And they go, right, Marsh summons, okay? Tribute, Book of Moon it. And it's like, where do they go from here? I've still got SP Little Knight that could have traded off as well. So, yeah, magnets are actually, like, insanely powerful. I really like them. I think the fact that the deck isn't that expensive. Like, I know the Imperium, the Valkyrion should be relatively cheap. Like, I'm pretty sure it's had a couple of reprints, and if you just want a common, you should be able to pick that up in okay condition, I guess. I get the Berserkion's a bit of an annoyance because it only has 1 print, and I also get that the Imperium is also a bit of an annoyance because, again, it only has 1 print. But basically just being able to like, you don't have to play those. I like playing them for the pure magnets. But then if you want to keep the budget down, you could take those both out and you can kind of adapt it a little bit more to it. Like, I know there are some builds that play two of this, which is absolutely fine. So straight away you take out your two, wherever they are. Take out this guy, and then you put in two more of these, like one more of each of these, which I think is absolutely fun. Anyway, hopefully this has given you a bit more of an insight into the deck, what it wants to do, how it tries to do it. I really like it. I think it's a very, very fun deck. The fact that it was all low rarity as well kind of makes it a little bit more accessible, I guess. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.